Hello, Angry Spork taking issue with Batman Eternal. In the previous issue, Tim Drake was introduced to Julia Pennyworth, Alfred's estranged daughter. Batman met with Lieutenant Jason Bard, who claimed he could end the gang war within the week. And Jim Gordon's trial started, but we don't see any of his defense because why freaking bother in a trial? And later he got a visitation of his own from the son he thought was dead.
In issue 13, James Tinney in the fourth on script, Junior recalls his father calling Blackgate a necessary hell with unwavering morality, but allegedly turning a blind eye to the abuses committed within. He's even quoted by the Gotham Gazette as describing terrible overcrowding, riots, and guards pitting inmates against each other. Gordon said he never supported these actions and denies his son's claims that he didn't care. Junior says that Gotham turns people into monsters like he is, and he wants his dad to admit his heart only bleeds in vain. It was one such darker truth about the city that led Gordon to fire on an unarmed man in a situation to cause the most damage. Gordon says that he didn't and wouldn't, but Jimmy Jr. detects some uncertainty. He escaped Bell Rev and paid off some guards to see his dad in private, now thinking that his dad is ready to be set free. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Jason Bard has presented Interim Commissioner Forbes with solid leads to Batman's munition stockpiles.
"You're a man after my own heart."
Why, if you were an aging mobster staging a comeback and waging a gang war, I'd gladly become a corrupt cop for you, evil.
With Batman Inc. shuttered, Bats has to put his gear somewhere, and Bard thinks he's found the right locations. A success may just make Forbes' position as commissioner permanent, so he permits Bard to take whoever and whatever he needs for his task force to make this happen tonight. But Bard has more in store, which naturally means we jump to some time later at the Gotham Gazette. Vicky Vale's boss Mario, trying his best for a Tony Stark goatee, doesn't care for her idea to do a ride-along with Gotham's new cop. He's too impressed with the sight hits they're getting relating to Gordon's trial, but Vale points out they're getting scathed by Lois Lane's editorials, and she's in town for another week.
And just like she did for New 52 Superman, New 52 Lois Lane is going to find out Batman's identity, expose it to the world, and then discover and expose the identities of Batgirl, Ambushbug, all the Robins, the Flash, and Spider-Man. Different universe, I know, but hey, a scoop's a scoop.
Vale entices him further with the prospect of Batman being unmasked and what that'll mean for the Gazette. Mario suspects she's up to something, but decides to let her run with it in the hopes that he can gloat over Perry White for years. But he warns that if it's gossip like her gang war article, she's gone. Warren and Vicky leave Mario's office, both hoping she knows what she's doing, when Joey Day appears. A forum called Gotham Voices is apparently abuzz with some Cluemaster news, but since having had to write the first article about a wannabe Riddler years back, Vale no longer cares.
"There's a real story in Gotham tonight, and that isn't it."
Meanwhile, at the Contradiction, Stephanie is still at the library, muttering to herself how responses to her post largely involve people not caring about Cluemaster, and probably one from Big DD055 calling her toxic, while lamenting why her supervillain dad decided to go with orange and blue as a color scheme.
I don't know, Deathstroke seems to make it work. And Naruto Uzumaki. And a bunch of characters from Dragon Ball Z.
Someone instant messages her about not picking up her phone. She tells the sender, Beth, that now isn't the time, but apparently they need to talk. She calls her on the library's phone and is told a box was sent to Beth's home, but addressed to Steph. An orange box with blue tape. Steph warns her not to open it, but Beth does it anyway, finding an orange and blue horse that's actually just orange, with a ticking blue clock beneath it. Steph warns her to get out, but it's too late. A bomb detonates, and Steph runs out of the room in shock. Back to Blackgate Penitentiary, and Papa ain't too receptive to his son's plan. Junior thinks Dad has already considered it, relating back to when he was a kid and Gordon would sit alone in the dark with a bottle of whiskey after a hard day at work, wondering if Gotham could change. Jim notes his son is twisting frustration into motive. "Well, smack Junior for blasphemy, then!" Jim II arranged for his dad's cell to open precisely at 2:46 a.m. tomorrow, at which point he'll proceed to the exit without seeing a single guard. He leaves, saying he wants Jim to admit he's never stood for anything, and that inside he's just as broken as his son, if maybe a little less so.
There's still hope, son. Have you tried Gorilla Glue?
Later that night, police get a visual of Batman entering a building suspected of being one of his caches. That's confirmation enough for Bard, joined by Vicky Vale in protective gear. With his other 2 teams ready, led by Sawyer and Bullock, he orders them to move in. Each team finds suspects, some handling money or weapons, but they don't look much like Batman's usual associates. One officer notices a suspect's rose tattoo, the mark of the Falcons not seen in years, but Bard says it looks like a bat to him. Heh, sir, yes sir.
I completely understand. Okay, everyone, back to headquarters. Lieutenant needs a new optometrist. Let's leave these armed gentlemen to their bridge club?
As the goons are arrested for illegal firearms possession in collaboration with Batman, one squirreled away to call Falcone, saying the cops are arresting the last of his war council. Of course, Lieutenant and Vicky Vale are right behind him, having overheard such quotable info. He assures the lackey he knows who he's dealing with, clocks him with the butt of his gun, takes the phone, and tells the Roman that Gotham doesn't belong to him. The cops take the suspects away, and Bard is alone with the Dark Knight, who's impressed with the newcomer's plan. But it's not quite over yet.
There's still the matter of those gophers.
Back at HQ, Forbes is less than thrilled. Bard says they're suspected Bat accomplices, but he retorts,
They look like freaking robins or nightbirds or whatever the hell to you.
Well, no, sir, but Nightbird is a non-transforming Decepticon? Duh.
Forbes demands their release despite their possession of weapons and drugs, and that's where Vale really comes into play. She presents herself, having been within earshot, and asks the interim commish to comment for her readers why he won't let these criminals be arrested. He tries to say that she misunderstood, but she hits him back with how bad it'd look for him to let criminals back on the streets. With his hands tied, Forbes lets Bard go ahead with processing his arrest.
Fine, arrest dangerous murderers and criminals. See if I care. It's all Gordon's fault anyway. Evil.
Red Robin's nest gets an unexpected visit from Harper Row, who literally drops in and starts checking the place out.
Holy supercomputer, Batman.
You do not have the bat cred, to paraphrase Burt Ward, lady.
She quickly guesses that Red Robin must have built it all himself, because of course she can figure that out with her non-existent history of discerning which tech is Batman's and which is his allies. Making this character omniscient does not make her interesting. How'd she even find this place? Unless her earlier hacking that Tim interrupted was somehow successful? It's not really explained very well. She hears the base's owner about to arrive, so she quickly hides as Red Robin begins recording an audio log about the nanobites, how they've no connection to Pig, and their core coding points to an ex-KGB super scientist and Batman mentor, Sergei Alexandrov. His last known location was Tokyo, Japan, so that's probably who was chillin' with the cyborg monkey at the end of issue 5. Double R has his computer charter him a back-end Wayne XO-class seat, bumping someone else from it because being an unnecessary jerk to a complete stranger is quote-unquote better. That's the new 52 for you. The computer acknowledges calling him Master, and Tim reminds it he doesn't like being called that.
So Tim built an AI that can forget that he doesn't like being called Master? Is that lousy programming or lousy writing?
Probably both, given that the computer can't find Harper Row when Robin asks for a trace on her, and she's just mere yards behind him. The computer doesn't even acknowledge that there's an intruder in the base at all. Moving on, we jump to Blackgate just long enough for James Jr. to tell his father that he has the whole next day to ponder his offer of escape, which he's certain will be accepted. Then we jump to Falcone chewing out Forbes, saying that with all the heat Penguin's been giving him, losing those men is a setback he can't afford. Carmine warns him that his power, easily given, could easily be taken away. On the same page, we find that Bard and Vale have recorded the conversation, with plans to have it at the Gazette within the hour.
And Weird Al will have the parody done by the end of the week.
Elsewhere, Stephanie stands in front of the burning remnants of her friend Beth's house, tears running down her face at the tragedy. Cluemaster is watching on a video feed, and is asked by someone off-panel why he isn't there stopping her, but replies that now she'll come to them.
The DC Comics New 52 reboot of Candid Camera, everybody!
Issue 14, Tinian scripting again, sees Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow, running through the halls of Arkham Asylum, talking aloud as if he's being recorded. But he has no recorder. He's apparently been sending out messages, but there's been no responses, so maybe the radio isn't broadcasting out. He says something came from below the asylum to eat it whole. There's no hope left, and the walls seem to come alive. Good thing he's telling us all this, because if we saw it, then we'd have some kind of pesky context for what he's babbling about. He's never been this afraid in his life, to the delight of whomever phases through the walls and pulls him back. He lets out a scream as a bolt of lightning cuts through the sky outside.
Nice effect.
In a motel on the outskirts of Gotham, Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, grows increasingly frustrated with his situation. He has millions in legitimate worth, but he can't go to a Gotham bank because that would be suicide. He has too few men, so he has to stay in less opulent accommodations. Penguin says that Rex Calabrese, a gangster known as the Lion, was both brutal and efficient. He'd rip a double-crosser's throat out with his own teeth.
That was the brutal part. The efficiency was his commitment to dental hygiene. Made the tearing of human flesh a whole lot easier.
Grasping an underling's neck, Penguin goes on that it was the Lion who threatened cops and crime families alike to obey him. He spoke of the natural order of the older alpha lion losing the pride to a younger counterpart. Piercing the guy's throat with his gloved thumbs? Yeesh. He continues that a greedy kid who knew the drug market and had Asian cartel contacts eventually did just that. Carmine Falcone. That is, until he was run out of town later. Spattered in his underling's blood, he says it's still the age of the Penguin, and he won't give up the proverbial pride to an older lion. Another goon enters, saying a strange message has given them Falcone's whereabouts.
Boss, we found Falcone. Did he not tell you we were low on manpower? Or is that why? I'm just gonna go get the car and bleach and a couple of garbage bags.
At City Hall, Bard is playing Forbes and Falcone's conversation he recorded last issue. Mayor Sebastian Haiti plays confused, but Bard insists he's the missing link between the two, appointing Forbes as commissioner for his pal Carmine. Haiti denies it, like any corrupt politician, and that's when Bard starts getting physical. He may not have enough evidence to implicate the mayor now, but he will find it. The press is on standby with the story and could easily include the mayor's name, ending his career, unless he gives up Falcone. All Haiti knows is that the gangster may be operating out of the Roman holiday florist. Bard leaves, but not before saying he'll investigate every facet of the mayor's life to find a weakness to exploit. You're just like Gordon, kid. Thank you.
Wait, which version? Comics? The Nolan trilogy? Please don't say the Gotham TV show.
Gordon sits alone at a table at Blackgate until his cellmate Leo decides to pull up a chair, despite objection. They soon cut the playful banter when Leo asks who the kid with the eye patch was. I would ask when Leo ever saw Junior, but, well, you know how this comic is with not answering questions. Jim blames his demeanor on being the killer of over 100 innocent people, but when asked if he still believes that, Jim says he doesn't know what to believe anymore. Perhaps he should consider what's left to do with his life, regardless of how terrible some options may be, once again recalling Junior's offer.
The electrical box was not connected to the rails. Maybe if I say it enough, the book will remember what it told us in issue 1.
In his hideout, Carmine Falcone is offering to buy out Penguin's remaining lieutenants for $1 million of the Bird's own money. He insists the gang war has ended in his favor, and that the mess with the cops is getting cleaned up.
Hey, when you make the choice to adopt a corrupt cop, you need to make sure they're housebroken.
He goes to answer a knock at the door and then finds all of his guards slaughtered. Penguin is off panel, saying Carmine never understood Gotham the way he did, never noticing the change occurring around him. Falcone reasons out loud that Cobblepot must have stolen his money to pay mercenaries to take out his best men. But that's when we see Ozzy looking straight out of Batman Returns, but more rabid, saying he left his usual muscle behind as he brandishes a bloody umbrella blade. It seems he had to kill the guards, knock on the door, and run around the corner, which, despite his visceral demeanor, would have looked hilarious. He fires the blade from his umbrella into Falcone's wrist,
Ow!
promptly pulls it out,
Ow!
brandishing it to the Roman's face. Penguin says that he is what the city has made him, a creature of the now, to survive the likes of Joker and Two-Face. And now, he plans to rectify the mistake of letting Falcone live all those years ago. They're distracted by flashes of light, revealing Vicky Vale, Lieutenant Bard, and several cops witnessing a philanthropist about to cut the throat of a reputed crime boss. Penguin is arrested for murder, one attempted and several completed, and Carmine for criminal conspiracy and any contraband found on the premises. Carmine attempts to use Forbes as his get-out-of-jail-free card, but Bard tells him the former acting commissioner already revealed their arrangement at length and was subsequently arrested.
I've mentioned a couple times before this habit the story has of talking about things that it should have shown us much earlier, and how this can be detrimental to the impact these events are supposed to have. However, Forbes merely being mentioned vis-a-vis his confession arrest actually works in this particular case. It's a nice surprise to Falcone, showing he's definitely going up the river, and had some good build-up between Bard and Vale's incriminating recording and the lieutenant's confrontation with the mayor. Forbes was a small player, so a mention isn't too bad. And what also helps is that there probably won't be much of a need to endlessly repeat Forbes' squealing for the rest of the series. At least I hope not.
It's 2:46 a.m. at Blackgate, and sure enough, Gordon's cell door is unlocked. He creeps out and walks to the exit, but only to lock it, he tells Batman, who's standing right behind him.
When Jimbo detected that it was Batman dressed as a transport guard, it was kind of funny. But the more and more he's suddenly able to know when Batman's around, it becomes less funny. What, does he have better hearing than Superman now?
Gordon tells his caped compadre that his very alive son visited and got under his skin. As frustrated as Jim can get, as rotten as the city can be, he genuinely believes in something good and pure, something that brought Batman along when he was needed, and maybe it brought Gordon to Blackgate. But he laments he's getting old and can't be as active as in Zero Year. He pushed to be something he couldn't be, and people died as a result.
You know, one of my problems with the New 52 reboot was that it changed characters needlessly and it made them objectively weaker. And here we have a pretty good example of that. Here we have a middle-aged Jim Gordon, early to mid-40s, I'm estimating, because he's said to be in his 40s in Super Heavy, which takes place after this. And here he is talking about how senile he's going. He's an old man. He can't do what he used to anymore in his 40s. That he needs a... What, you need a walker now, Jim? Is your mind going? That's why you forgot about the electrical box that could serve as a pretty good piece of evidence in your favor? And he's completely succumbed to the idea of his own guilt. He's just instantly saying he's guilty. I can understand he wants evidence for the trial, but for himself? Himself? His own mind and his own soul? He's not willing to entertain the possibility that one of the many super criminals in Gotham just messed with his head like some are wont to do? I have no sympathy for you, Jim Gordon of the New 52, because you're picking a heck of a time to go through a midlife crisis.
After another rehashing of Batman saying, "framed," and Gordon asking for proof, he says that if he could be manipulated as suggested, then he should be out of the game anyway. Because, years of being schooled by Batman at detective work is one thing, but someone sets you up for a crime you didn't commit, it's time to roll over and call it quits. Jim brings up Rex Calabrese, like Penguin did earlier, and his notion of the natural order, that he knew his time on top was finite. Gordon suggests he deserves Blackgate, but Batman thinks that maybe the city still needs him, just needs him there while Falcone and Penguin are on their way, which will make the penitentiary very dangerous. Jim asks if Bard made the collar on the rival crime lords, and Batman confirms. The ex-commissioner walks back to his cell, telling Batman he's probably found a new partner in their war on crime, because he's not sure how much longer he'll survive it. Yuck. Over the Pacific Ocean, a bat plane is soaring through the sky, occupied by Red Robin.
If you're taking a bat plane, why did you bump someone off a commercial flight last issue? Was the editor of the book asleep, or did you just want to reinforce how much of a jerk New 52 Tim Drake is?
He's reading some holographic headlines of the shenanigans in Gotham and asks the computer to run more diagnostics to reroute energy and maybe shave some flight time. One screen indicates that there are 2 passengers on board, and he activates internal cameras to find Harper Row hiding out in what looks like a cargo area eating cheese puffs.
New 52 Tim Drake. Not just a jerk, also an idiot.
On a rainy Gotham rooftop, Bart is on his cell phone talking to his mom, looking at a busted bat signal when the Dark Knight glides in, and he has to end the call. Bats compliments him on his intellect and resourcefulness, and how he'd make an excellent ally, and that he's always trusted Gordon's judgment and moral compass. However, the Penguin's tip-off to Falcone's location cost 12 men their lives. Unlike the police, Batman managed to trace the call to Bard's cell phone.
Dun dun dun!
Bard's response to this accusation is that he just wants to make the city safer, and he can do that alongside Batman or in spite of his lack of trust. He won't be stopped from doing what's right just because he has to cross a line Batman or Gordon wouldn't. They'll just have to learn to fight for it together.
Hey. He has not earned the disappear mid-conversation shtick. Come on, Batman, I know you still work with Jason Todd sometimes, but please, retain some standards, would you?
The final page of the issue checks in at Arkham Asylum, where Scarecrow is told that Batboy and his ghost friend are on their way, and there can't be any distractions for the upcoming show. Joker's daughter will have to take care of Crane now, because that's what my daddy told me.
If creative desperation could vomit, I think this is what the result would look like.
The Ray Fox scripted in issue 15 sees Jim Corrigan sauntering into Arkham Asylum with Batwing, while referencing the Divine Comedy in Italian. "I thought you were Irish."
Oh, really? Why is that? Because I'm wearing green? Because my hair is red? Because my ancestry is Irish in origin? Because I'm suddenly speaking in an Irish accent? Because of my fondness for Conan O'Brien? You, laddie, are a racist. Now let's get this investigation done. I've got tickets to Riverdance.
The receptionist asks if she can help, but both Corrigan and Batwing's suit recognize her as Margaret Pye, aka Magpie, who's supposed to be a patient, and she's swiftly tranquilized. Batwing wonders why she's out of a cell and where the guards are at when they find them all dead further into the asylum. Maybe they were killed in the many issues you spent standing outside Arkham before walking in. One of the worst things about magic, Corrigan says, it can hide itself beneath the surface of the common world. They're there to find and dismantle the source of mystic infection.
Unfortunately, the overprescription of antibiotics has led mystic infections to develop a resistance.
Back to Red Robin soaring over the Pacific, cloaking his plane and voice commanding it to maintain low altitude to his destination, Tokyo Theta, which sounds like the name of an anime. Note to self for later. Anyway, he tells Harper he can still hear her, despite however she tricked his internal sensors, and for the stunt she pulled, she deserves the consequences of 9 hours in a stress position in the cargo bay. She says she just hid real good, like a ninja, but neither Red Robin or I are buying it. Frankly, this feels like a writer's out. They try and build Harper as this really capable character without having to explain how she can do all these stupid things. I mean stupendous, I mean stupid, and not even showing them while outwitting traditionally more capable, established characters.
I'm going to say this now, but rest assured, it'll come up again. Tearing down one character is not the same as building up another.
After they land, Harper ignores orders to stay behind. She'd prefer to be more proactive than waiting around while her brother and neighborhood are attacked by nanobots. She tells Robin that her family is on the line, and can handle herself while she helps. She's corrected, saying his name is Red Robin, as he criticizes her Wildcats-esque mask.
Because it's not enough that so many of her traits are ripped off from Stephanie Brown. What, was the grifter-style mask just a way to curry favor with Jim Lee? She's like the girl version of Grifter. She's Grift her. Are you buying it yet?
Red Rob doesn't want a rank amateur increasing his risk, and Harper sarcastically sneers back how she knows how much he hates taking risks. Well, you don't know him at all, so you can't really comment, can you? Back at the asylum, Batwing wonders how long it's been devastated like this, as something feels wrong. A scan reveals that his suit has been filtering and Corrigan inhaling human spinal fluid in aerosol form.
It's called Frank Miller's Febreze.
They come across Edward Nigma's cell with a message left behind on the walls. Batwing's suit gets a visual of it for later decryption, but Corrigan doesn't think Riddler's connected to all this. His mind is too mechanical, too rational for magic. But they soon come across a cell belonging to the Scarecrow, who's all about the irrational. Inside, there's blood pouring upward, which Corrigan identifies as an etheric pylon. It means they're getting close, but to someone fairly skilled. Wing Bat suggests that if things go bad, there's always the Spectre, according to his files, but then for whatever reason changes his mind and brings up calling Batman in such an event, getting a crew to take the place room by room. However, the gang war is kinda keeping him busy, and the further they descend into Arkham's depths, the less chances Batwing will be able to connect to the outside world, and can leave if he wants. Nah, man, I'm with you.
Okay, Batwing wants to stick by his new partner. That's fine. But it's kinda stupid not to call the Batcave and appraise them of the situation and tell them that you're going to be out of range for a while. And furthermore, you'd think that with all that tech and gear, he might get appraised himself that Falcone and Penguin have been arrested.
Descending a staircase, they see a man in the corner, his hands open towards them. I am the Ten-Eyed Man.
My reboot involves me having a bad day at high school once, so now I gouge people's eyes out and glue them to my fingertips. Woo! New 52!
Batwing looks like he's shining a light on Ten Eyes, who says that the three of them will be saved. And I'm guessing he also is including the Spectre. They go down a dark corridor, and some explosions are heard, and a weird mist approaches them. Batwing's sensors read it as light, but Corrigan says it's Hellwind, something that warps whatever soul it touches. The spell he cast on Wing earlier will protect him, but he should probably leave, as things seem to be worse than originally thought. Batwing again declines, apparently hovering Ten-Eyed Man in an energy bubble. I guess that's a thing he can do. When the inmate begins repeating something, with a kind of red ring encompassing his body. Definois sauve, Definois sauve,
Hi, Microsoft customer support. I think my Ten-Eyed Man is faulty. It's got a red ring of death, and it's floating in the air. No, don't put me back on hold! Ugh.
As Batwing detects enemy signals incoming, Corrigan realizes who's behind the disturbances. Soon, they're overwhelmed by ghoulish figures emerging from the walls, and Batwing tells Corrigan to call the Spectre. In Old Gotham, police enter a candy factory, knowing Batman is there and telling him they know he's interfering with the police investigation. The three thugs tied together, hanging upside down from the ceiling, is a dead giveaway. Bard subdues a fourth criminal that insists the gang war isn't over yet, but the lieutenant shrugs it off. Bats is indeed there, taking out a fifth goon from nowhere, and compliments Bard for his by-the-book work, while Bard makes a quip about how he has to prove to the DA that Batman beat up the crooks before they're caught. Then they shake hands?
After you were just on his case about getting those 12 criminals killed? What, did you find out his mom's name is Martha?
We briefly jump back to our pair at the asylum, where the Spectre still won't emerge. It apparently doesn't work like that. We're sorry. The divine entity of judgment you are looking for, Spectre, is not available. To choose another entity, press 1. To speak with a representative, press 2. I can't help but wonder if DC just doesn't know how New 52 Spectre would work. But hey, that's speculation on my part. The ghouls have them restrained, apparently singling Batwing out, and a couple take them with him, down through the floor, to Corrigan's dismay. Then we jump to Rio de Janeiro, where Batgirl is insisting Red Hood she can handle the things on her own, but he says no one should have to work alone if they don't have to.
You should leave. You don't have to do this alone. No, you're not getting it. You're a terrible character, and I just don't want you around. I want to help. I would rather be horribly murdered than be within 3 miles of you. I'm the Red Hood.
As they enter the plastic surgeon's office, they find Batwoman smacking around Dr. Mangaravite to Batgirl's lament.
Yeah, 'cause we needed 50 people on this case.
Come on, it's not like having half a dozen writers on this title has caused any problem. Okay, I knew I could not finish that sentence without gagging a little.
Batwoman apparently took an interest in the Doctor after hearing whispers about stolen tech and repurposed gimmicks. His boss may be of interest to both of them, but Batgirl insists on going first. I don't know if calling dibs is more or less tricky for crime fighters. Anywho, we zip back over to Arkham, where 100 feet below, a weakened Batwing systems are malfunctioning as he encounters Joker's daughter, who says he looks
Ready to be saved.
just not from this story, apparently. Meanwhile, Corrigan is being led by ghouls, telling them they can't have Batwing or the Spectre. Then we see a clearer view of the seeming puppet master of Arkham's mystic shenanigans, Mr. Bygone, who says Corrigan has already given them everything.
Secret Santas go awry. Well, 15 issues down, another 37 to go. Not even I want to listen to me talk for that long.